So once you go through that process, which again, it's very, very straightforward, you're going to go ahead and look at your expert advisors right here. So you can bring up the navigation window and you're going to see expert advisors ATS Assistant 2.0. Now, to install this to your chart is very, very simple. You just open up a new chart by going up here, open up any pair you want. For this one, we'll choose something kind of random, US oil. So you want to open up a fresh chart that has never had anything on it before, specifically no ATS 4.0 or 3.0 or anything like that, and then simply highlight and drag and drop it right onto your chart. Oh, hold on one second. Yeah, drag and drop it onto your chart, and then make sure under the Common tab to allow DLL imports, allow live trading, just check these boxes. And then from there, hit OK. And then like other expert advisors, to get rid of, if you have a non-smiley face up here, just make sure that you hit auto trading, and that's what toggles the smiley face back and forth. Now from here, you can just add whatever pairs you'd like. I'm not going to go too far into all this. I'm going to leave this up for Wade to go through the more technicals of using it. I just wanted to cover how to get it and how to get it up onto a chart for the first time. Now, if you wanted to save this, you can, of course, just make a new layout, or excuse me, a new template. Just right click, template, save template, and then call it, you know, ATS Assistant save, and then you can apply that template to new charts as you go. All right, so we're having a few people talking about screen being blurry. In the recording, we're going to post the recording, and the recording quality will be much better if you are running into any issues with seeing it. So I apologize about that. Anyway, so that is how you get the assistant. Again, just refill that form in the beta unit. If you're running into any issues with it, just shoot us an email. And just a little disclaimer, this is still in the scope of the beta, and you know, going through all of this and trying to work out any kinks. Like we mentioned, we got through a lot of the issues that were plaguing ATS 4.0 and applied them to this, so we don't expect that this will have near as many problems. But of course, when we're opening it up to a lot more people, that's always a possibility. So we would appreciate if you you know, let us know if you're running into any problems, and then we'll you know, quickly work at getting a patched version out of it for it. So all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Wade, and he'll go through and actually, you know, handle how to actually use the thing.
All right, thank you, Shane. If you guys let me know you could hear me, that'd be great.
All right, I'm seeing a few questions while Wade is setting up regarding how to get the email again. Again, just go into the same beta unit and refill out that form, taking care to enter in the correct PayPal email address. So that's really all there is to it. And then you'll get a new download link sent to your email. Hit that download link the exact same way that you did it to get ATS 4.0 the first time. So the exact same process. And then you get the download link, and then go from there. Just shut down your MetaTraders and run them. We're going to be updating the video inside of the beta unit later on today. So if you're not sure, hold off for that, and we'll do a little bit more official way how to install it. But that install video is going to be about 30 seconds. So yeah, again, if you have any questions, shoot an email over to support@tradeats.com. Oh, and I see one more question from Nikki. Should I delete previous files when I download the new ones? No, you're not going to need to do that. It'll automatically take care of all of that with the installer.
Okay, so yeah, I'm looking at questions too. So we'll try to cover everything we can, guys. This training was a little bit, we kind of decided to do it somewhat last minute. So not super formal. What we're going to try to do is just try to cover everything as much as possible. Just for you guys that are in the beta group, you guys can get started. We will come out with actual formal trainings, step-by-step videos. All that will be in the online course at some point. But what we want to do is give you enough here to where you generally know how to use the new tool and install it and start working with it. So try to hit as much. And if you guys have questions as I go through this, go ahead and shoot them in there. I'll try to hit them as much as possible. So let me get it pulled up here. Okay, first thing I want to cover, which is something that's been kind of confusing to some on our team and was confusing to me. You'll notice that it always pulls up usually a symbol starting with Z on the chart right here when you load it, no matter what chart you load it onto. What it's doing is it's basically alphabetically looking for the last symbol in your symbols list here. So it doesn't mean anything. So don't think, oh, why does it always go like this one's at Zcash? It doesn't mean anything. Just understand that. It's just looking for the very last symbol automatically. And there's a reason why it does that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but just don't mind it if it always changes your chart up here at the top. So the first thing, as far as getting it all set up, the first thing I'm going to show you guys how to do is basically add symbols, which is pretty self-explanatory, but we'll take like Aussie USD right here. The easiest way to add symbols is you want to get your market watch, which if you guys are new to MT4, it's this little button right here. It says market watch. And you have all your symbols right here. If you guys aren't familiar with MetaTrader 4 as well, you could right click on any of these and then go to show all, because sometimes they have a limited list of what your broker actually offers. If you hit show all, then it'll make sure that you have everything here that you could possibly trade through that broker. So you have all the data streams. In order to add symbols, basically like Aussie USD right here, you just take it, click, drag, and drop it on the chart, and it'll just add it. So as of right now, the default for all the signals is on. We'll probably end up changing this to actually have them off, but this is one of the things we got to still decide which ones we want default on, which one off. But for right now, I'm just going to turn them all off, and then we'll talk about what they mean as I enable them back on. But I'm going to start over here first. So, okay, let me see my notes here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is right here, this section where it says TF1, TF2, TF3. What does that mean? Okay, so basically it's pretty self-explanatory. This is time frame 1, time frame 2, and time frame 3. What this is that you have 3 stacked time frames that it is checking the color of the Heikin-Ashi candle. That's what it's looking for. And basically when those are in alignment, these will all appear as the same color. So right now it's blue if they're all long, and it'll be yellow if they are all short, and then it'll be red if they're not matching. Let me see if I could find one that's not matching. Okay, right here. So this pair right here, you can see that they're all red. So that means that there's something that is not matching. Those time frames are not in alignment. So this is basically supposed to be somewhat of a scanner, where we call it market snapshot, where you could just kind of get the gist of is this pair trending across time frames? What's the sentiment overall? Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? So that's going to help you right there with that. You're actually able to, let me turn these off real quick. So you're also able to change the supporting time frames. So right here, you can see that this is the ETF. This is your entry time frame. So this is the chart that you're actually looking to enter the market on. I'll get into that more in a minute. But so you got your 3 supporting time frames. Let's say you're trading the 5-minute, or let's just say you want to trade the 15-minute into the daily. So right here, you go to entry time frame. You click the little arrow right here. It'll give you a little drop down. Hit the 15-minute. Right here, if you're trading that and you're immediately trading it into the daily, then you would put your TF1 as the D1 right here. So that's a 15-minute into the daily. Now let's say you say like, I don't want to trade the daily unless it's in line with the weekly. then that would be your TF2. Right here, you could see the week W1, that's your week one. So you have the daily into the weekly. And then let's say, you know what, I want to be ultra conservative. I only want to trade things that are in line with the macro trend. So I'm going to go over here and go down to the MN1, the monthly. So now, as of right now, you can see that you are in line with the daily, the weekly, and the monthly on Euro USD are all going the same direction. And then your ETF set to minute 15. So this would represent the conservative approach you would want to take with the minute 15. Okay. So, and you could do that. You can add also multiple pairs. That's one of the reasons, which I'm not going to get too deep into that, but that's why it goes to Zcash or whatever the alphabetically is the last symbol that you guys have. That's what allows us through the code to add the same symbols. So you could take like Euro USD and add it again. And that way you can actually have the same pair, but different time frames. So let's say you want to monitor like 1 minute, if you're going to trade that small, I don't recommend it, but let's say you want to monitor 1 minute opportunities, 5 minute opportunities, 15-minute opportunities, and hour opportunities. Well, you can load that pair multiple times and set up the time frames different and the signals differently across those time frames. So you can see that this thing it's super flexible to be able to really customize it to whatever works best for you. That being said, if you want to get rid of a time or get rid of a currency pair, all you got to do is go over here to the little X, click on that, and that one will disappear and go away. So pretty self-explanatory there. So anyway, that's pretty much how you set up the time frames. It's not, I did experiment, and this is one of the reasons why it took so long. I did experiment with having it look at the expansion lines on the TF1, TF2, TF3 to see, are we trending away, kind of along with the basic strategy. But again, it kind of was the same thing. I've talked about this with ATS Assistant 1.0. I just felt like it really, it kind of took away possibly really good opportunities where if you just went off the candle color, it would have put you in early and you would be able to do different types of like mean reversion trades. Say if your TF1, let's say your TF2 is long, right? Or your TF3 is long and your TF1 is under expansion, but it's a clear turn on the TF1, and then you get a grade A or grade B signal, which we'll get into in a minute. Let's say you get that on your 15-minute or your whatever your entry time frame is. If it was looking at if you're above or below expansions, it wouldn't give you that early symbol, because if you catch your higher time frame above or below expansion, kind of similar to what you're looking to do on the ETF, those could be great trading opportunities. So if you end up using the expansion lines, that it'll end up filtering some of those awesome opportunities out. So it's not going to be in line exactly with the basic strategy that we outlined on the online course, but through time and experience, I think you guys will like it more just going off the candle color and then just doing your homework on the pair. Just because you get a signal over here doesn't mean that you just automatically just jump in. It means that you need to go take a look at the framework and really check out that opportunity, see if it's something that you want to deal with. So I'll get into that more here in a bit too. So anyway, that's pretty much the market snapshot. That's how you deal with the time frames. Very straightforward, just going off the candle color. Not a whole lot of crazy algorithms that it takes to do that. It's actually pretty simple, but we're hoping the simplicity will be better overall. The next thing I'm going to talk about is this DEV, which stands for deviation. Now, this is pretty cool. What this does is that it'll look for you have your ETF and your TF1. It'll look for the highest or lowest expansion line, and this is based on ATS 4.0. It'll look for the highest or lowest expansion line in trend, and then it will give you how far away you're deviated below or above that out of trend. So let me explain here. right here we have pound yen 15-minute into the 4-hour. Let me see if I could find one that's deviated here. Oh wait, no, this is Bitcoin. That's not right. Let me see if I can do this here. Okay, so the 4-hour has already turned yellow, so that's not going to show a deviation because you can see the candle color is yellow. So let me change this to a daily and see what that looks like. Okay, so the daily is blue. So if we take this and let's turn it into, let's add pound yen over here. And oops. Let's turn this into a 15-minute. Turn this into a daily. Okay, so, and then it's default to set as the weekly right here, which is obviously, if it's the same time frame, then it's just gonna look at the same candle on both charts. One thing that I'll mention real quick that you don't wanna do is put your TF3 accidentally. You don't want to have this on a weekly and have your TF3 under that. It's designed to stack the time frames basically higher and higher. So you have your day, your week. This could be a week, but you would want to, more than likely just make it a month. So, and you could also, I forgot to mention this too. So like you guys can see, this is totally off the cuff. So we're trying to cover, I'm trying to cover everything as best I can here. If you want to not use one of these time frames, like TF3 or TF2, you could actually pick no as well and just turn it off. And then it's not looking at the candle color at all, just basically excludes that. So then you'd only be going off TF1 and TF2. So it does give you that functionality as well. And that's for someone like if you just don't really care about having all that massive confirmation, you're just looking for 1 or 2 time frames to judge the trend by, then that would be something you could do to do that. Okay, so back to the deviation. So right now I have it set for the 15-minute, into the daily, into the weekly, into the monthly. So if we look at pound yen right now, you can see that the deviation is 9.2 right here. Okay, so that's showing you the amount of pips that you are below the highest expansion line. So where is the highest expansion line over here? That's coming out of this red box. So if we measure from here to the bid price, so let's go from the line down to the bid. Right there is basically your 9.2, or it's actually a little less now. You can see over here it shows 8.7. So what that's doing is it's looking at that higher time frame, the daily, and it's saying what is the highest expansion line in trend, and then it is measuring that deviation off of that. So what you can do through the scanners, you can see things. Again, it's just a quick market snapshot. It shows you what's trending in the same direction. And if there is a current deviation, because that is in line with the basic strategy, right? You're looking for the higher time frame to be trending one way, and you're looking for a undervalued situation, and that's what you have right here. This obviously doesn't mean just go and jump in, but it's telling you, hey, you may want to just go check this pair out and see how the framework's shaping up. Just see what's going on. So pretty self-explanatory there. It just gives you a good idea of what to look for. Also, one of the things too with the market snapshot is that if you do not see a deviation, then what that means, if you have alignment over here but no deviation, it means that it's already running. It means that, yeah, it's trending, but it's probably, there may not be a great place to enter. So that's, just telling you, hey, it's already probably somewhat gone. That's pretty much it with the deviation. The next thing is the TS, which stands for trend strength. This is something that I came up with. It's a proprietary calculation that I use. And I actually, believe it or not, to cut this long story short, I actually used a formula, believe it or not, with moving averages, calculating the slopes and using the moving average distances and slopes to give us a trend like power rating, basically how powerful is this trend. but it's a dynamically derived moving average calculation. So it actually similar to the video I did on moving averages, where it talks about if you are going to trade a moving average, pair it with your higher time frame, a multiple of that higher time frame, so it gives you a true sense of moving value within that time frame. I used a similar calculation over here through multiple moving averages to calculate distances and aggressiveness, but it is dynamically moving with these time frames. It's not just an arbitrary calculation. It is based off of the time frames that represent your TF1, TF2, and TF3. So it's pretty cool how it ended up working out. So could you guys let me know if you could hear me? I want to make sure that my seems like it might be a little choppy on my end here. Just put a Y in the chat. Let me know that you're hanging with me here. Okay, excellent. Looks like we're good to go.
Hey, Wade, could I stop you right there? Just I saw that we had a lot of people jump on a little bit after, maybe while I was going through how to get the assistant. Just to touch back in for those of you that might have gotten on, a few minutes late. The ATS Assistant is now available, and you can get it for yourself if you go into the ATS Quick Start course and go to the very, very back, the very last unit, and refill the fill form. You'll get an email sent out to you. Download the software from the link that's in that email, run the installer, and then you'll have the assistant loaded up into your every MetaTrader 4 on your platform or on your device. And then from there, just open up a new chart, drag and drop the assistant onto the chart. And if you run into any issues, feel free to shoot an email over to support@tradeats.com, and we'll, take a look and go through it with you. And I've been checking the emails, and it looks like a lot of you went ahead and already did it. So if you're running into any issues with that and you've already installed it since we started, type it in the chat, and maybe we can even do a little bit of technical support while we're here right now, just since it's so new. Anyways, sorry, Wade.
No worries. All right, so we're trying to get through this. I see some of you guys' questions come through. I'm gonna try to get to everything here, but I just want to keep moving through this just to explain. So going back, the trend strength, it's a proprietary calculation. You'll notice that it says L or S at the beginning, and then it'll give you a number right after that. Basically, what it means, L and S mean long or short. It reads 1 through 9, and basically, when you get to 1, you have very minimal trend strength. It could be an indication of a flat sideways market, and then as you go up through level 9 or L9 or S9, whether the market's long or short, then basically it tells you how aggressive that is starting to move, that trend. But one thing that you want to be careful with trend strength, or one way that you want to use it, I should say, is that if you have something over here that's reading like L9, what that could also mean is that the market is overcooked. It means it's literally this thing's already pushing really heavy. And it may be something that you want to stay away from. And typically, if you have like L9 or S9 over here, you're probably not going to have any deviation, because it's just a representation that the market is moving with some aggressiveness. Now, it doesn't mean all the time that there won't be a trade, but just understand that that's how the calculation works. You really want to find something that's in the sweet spot. I would say below like 6. 6. I would say between like 2 and 6 is where things are starting to shape up. By the time you get to 9, it typically is you've already had the move. So you want to catch it in the bell curve of movement, where it's, because everything's going to start at, 0, 1. That 1 is where it starts actually moving. It's at 1, then it'll go to 2, then it'll go to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it'll jump to 9, and then it'll be done. So you want to catch it as it's starting to ramp up. So and I'll get into the signals in a minute, but just know when you're getting signals, it'll give you a market snapshot when you get the signal as well. and you'll look at that trend strength number and see, is that trend strength number still low enough to where I want to go take a look at the signal. If it's giving you a signal, but the trend strength is at level 9, I'm not saying don't go look at it, but just understand you're probably going to be looking at something that's pretty parabolic in the trend already, and you may not want to touch it at that point. So it's just giving you that market snapshot and giving you what the goal with this stuff right here with the market snapshot is that the more familiar you get with this is that you can have a number of pairs here, and basically by just looking at these key metrics, you'll know pretty much what it looks like. And again, the major goal with the ATS Assistant is to limit your screen time so that you can avoid trader fatigue, you can avoid the bad decisions with getting tired watching the screen, and you basically only trade when there are ideal situations possibly shaping up. That's really what everything on this is designed to do. And so, yeah, as you guys watch the information you get through here, I mean, you know, is something trending across time frames? Is there any deviation currently above or below value? And then is there any strength to the trend yet? And remember, it's counterintuitive. You don't necessarily want to find something that is saying level 9 on the strength. You want something that's more like 2 or 3, because by the time it gets to level 9, it's already gone. That's where you make the money taking it up to level 9. Let's put it that way. So think about it in those terms. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Again, like I said, I'm going to do formal videos on all this stuff and do it probably in a better, more clear way, but hopefully I'm getting through to you guys here. So, okay, so let's get into trade signals and triggers. Grade A and grade B is still basically the same as it is on the ATS 1.0 Assistant. Grade A is going to be the first signal in a new rotation on your TF1 time frame. So the minute that your TF1 goes blue or yellow, it's going to be looking for the very first entry signal, and those are going to be based off of the triggers. And then grade B is going to be anything that's after a grade A. So grade A has to be the first one. Grade B is anything after that as the trend goes. So, and I'm sure I'll dive into that more as we go. So that should be pretty self-explanatory. Obviously, grade A's are going to be the ones. These are the ones that I know some people, like with the ATS Assistant 1.0, said, well, I've traded the grade A setups, and some of them just go against me right away. That is a fact. It does happen, but that comes with early trade setup. With a lot of the grade A's, you're going to have situations where grade A's are triggered, and you're coming out of basically a contraction period or a range on your TF1 on your first time frame. If that's the case, if the architecture is not starting to support a trending movement, chances are the grade A's are going to go back into the range. They're not going to hold. But the good news is that you're going to know that pretty much right away. So sometimes with a grade A setup, you may want to give it a few minutes, or you really want to do your homework on the TF1 situation. And that's, again, a thing I'm going to say with this that I've said with ATS Assistant 1.0. This is not a substitute for screen time. This is a complement to your screen time you have already put in. You need to understand the framework and study the charts. This is just supposed to cut out monitoring time, so you're not having to sit there, all hours of the day waiting for the moment that you need to actually make decisions. So just remember that, guys. I can't stress that enough, is that you have to put in the screen time. You guys need that are new to this. You really need to plan on giving this, I would say, 60 to 90 days to really get your feet on the ground. It's not something you're going to come into, 1 week and just start knocking out of the park. It's usually not the case, although we do have people that do well, pretty quickly, but that's usually because they have a lot of prior screen time. So anyway, there's one way or another, there's no way out of the screen time. That's really where you guys understand the way price moves and where you kind of develop your feel of price action. So keep that in mind. Anyway, so the grade A is the very first one. Understand they can fall apart, but if you do enter, you should know very quickly whether it's going to take off. Now, when they do work out, you are early to the trend. You have about the best trade placement you can get. So the grade A signals that come across your desk, you want to take a look at those. You want to study the TF1, TF2, TF3, whatever you have enabled. And then you want to decide if you want to act on that grade A signal, because if it is a good setup, these are the potential ones that you can really knock it out of the park with. Now, there are good grade B setups too, because remember, right after a grade A, the market could be still a little bit sideways and you'll get a grade B right off after that may be just as good of timing as a grade A signal. So you don't want to discount the grade Bs. But if you're someone that wants to have a really, really simple setup, you're like, I only want to trade grade A setups, you're going to get much less signals, but they will all be those initial, basically it's going to go or it's not going to go type situations, which, if you can work them right, you can cut your losses quick. They can set you up to be into some pretty monster moves. So anyway, the grade A's are really good, but just understand, don't get frustrated if they go back into the range. That kind of comes with the territory of trying to find an early entry. But if you're using the framework right, even if you do enter, you should have very minimal losses trying to scout out these opportunities. It shouldn't be too big of a deal, as long as you're being safe when you're looking at those opportunities. So again, grade A is going to be anything after grade A, same types of setups. Now let's get into the triggers. This is something new to ATS Assistant 2.0. This gives you a lot of control over over the information that you want to be notified with. So I'm going to start right here. The first one is MNEXP. What this stands for is minor expansion. A minor expansion is going to simply be when price leaves a gray box, which all boxes on ATS 4.0 start out as gray. So this can be, on ATS 1.0, we were always looking for counter trend signals, but this one will actually also give you in trend. It doesn't matter whether it breaks long or short according to the trend. Sometimes when it breaks long, you still have opportunities to get into the trade on the breakout because you're close to the framework. Similar to right here, you can see on pound yen 15, if you had your daily, you can see your daily's long over here. Your daily's long, right? And right here, this would have been a minor expansion when you left this gray box. Notice it didn't turn red and it broke out straight. This would have given you a minor expansion signal, even breaking out in the direction of trend. And then it would have given you the opportunity to buy the breakout and then possibly monitor your risk below the center of the box. You guys that have been trading this a long time would understand the situation. This is a little more risky because you are already above value, but in this type of situation, you're basically looking for the market to break out immediately and you're controlling your risk very tight. If it goes against you in this type of situation, then you're possibly headed for a red box. And if that's the case, this could be a value area that could turn into a multi-leg expansion. You have that information now at that point. But that is a minor box expansion, simply leaving a gray box. Very simple and straightforward. So that would be your first trigger. And then also understand that the triggers are only going to happen when you have alignment here. So if you have this red, like right here, you can see that it's red across these time frames. All the triggers will not work because you don't have the alignment that you've specified. Now, if you take away, let's say like right here on Euro NOK, or I just call it Euro NOK, you just turn these to no right here, your TF2, TF3. Let's see. Okay, so now we know, now we're just looking at the 4 hour, the 5 minute into the 4 hour. And the 4 hour is short, right? There is a deviation, so it shows that the 5 minute, if the 4 hour is short, the 5 minute is above the last expansion line, so you're above value. And you're currently, there is somewhat of a pullback happening because you're 4 hours short, but you could see that the trend strength is starting to go a little bit long. That's why it says L2. So it's starting to go long a little bit. Oh, one thing I didn't mention about the trend strength, you'll notice that they're different colors. It's because we actually have them operate as somewhat of a heat map. They start out being blue, like when they're in the 0, 1, 2 category, and they gradually go into the red color. And it treats it as kind of like a heat map. So you can see if something is bright red on there, it's usually going to say 9. So it just gives you kind of a color visualization, whether it's overcooked or not. So anyway, just want to bring up what those mean. So what that shows us is that the trend is starting to go long. Doesn't mean don't take a look at it, but just this, it's giving you again that market snapshot. This still, even though it says L2, it still could be forming to be a pretty good setup. Just know that there is some momentum establishing to the long side, which may drag this 4-hour around blue. It may not eventually come around and hold the 4-hour trend. So something to take into consideration. Also, remember I took away TF2, TF3. If we put these back, let's turn this into a weekly and a monthly. Okay, remember these are still red over here. You still have those red. You don't have them. They would, if it was a true full-blown trend, you'd be looking for yellow across the whole thing. So that's a reason why you would have a deviation with just the 4-hour. Let me go back to that. So that's a reason you'd have a deviation over value in a downtrend on your 4-hour and have a long trend strength, is because overall, if these are all not lined up on your TF1, TF2, TF3, chances are you're in somewhat of a range, and the numbers are just going to be kind of, all over the place. So that is another purpose that filter serves. So anyway, I don't know, I got kind of off track on there. So anyway, going back to the triggers, you have your minor expansion. Your next one is going to be your major MJ EXP, your major framework expansion. This is going to be the minute that a box turns red. It goes from gray, and then it's confirmed into being a significant point of origination. That's going to tell you you're going to have a trigger go off, and the trigger is only going to go off again if you have the timeframes you have specified you want to use are in alignment. If they're out of alignment, it'll pass on the signal, or at least it should. So again, there may be a few bugs here and there, but that's why we're putting it into the beta for you guys. If you guys do see anything that shows up weird, make sure that you please send it to support@tradeats.com, and then we'll address it before we do the actual formal launch. So, but we're pretty sure everything should be pretty tight at this point. So, so you'll get the major expansion. You enable that signal. And you can enable them. You guys have seen me clicking the buttons here. It's as simple as just turning it on and off. Real self-explanatory. So you just enable that. If that's a signal you want, say you only want to deal with boxes that turn red in trend, and let's say that you only want to deal with the very first red box in a new trend on your TF1, meaning the first time your TF1 confirms blue or yellow in trend with the other time frames or by itself. Let's say I only want to deal with a major expansion and I only want a grade A. Well, that's it. You want to check those two boxes. First opportunity, this type of framework situation. Okay, so again, pretty self-explanatory. And let's say you want grade A and grade B. Then you would turn on grade B. Now you would get not only the first setup, but you would get every setup every red box that turns red in that existing trend after the grade A until a new trend confirms. So that would give you that type of information. Let's say you're frustrated with grade A trades. Let's say you just don't get it. They're just a little bit too early. You may want to only deal with grade B trades, meaning that the momentum's already established, the trend's already taken off. Let's just get rid of grade A then. Only deal with grade B. This is going to give you more times than not, it's going to give you a situation where there have been a few entry opportunities, but your trend is more well established. That may be you. So again, you can customize this for the information that you are looking to that you're looking for personally. Okay, so let's turn these off again. Let's go over to liquidity lines here. So that's LL stands for liquidity line, and these are counter trend. These are not going to be in trend. For instance, right now on pound yen, we have the 15 into the daily right here. Daily's blue. That's what it's looking for on the TF1 that we have over here. So D1 is blue. 15-minute, we still have the deviation, 14 pips. Remember that below right here. So just kind of revisiting that for a minute. Okay, so it is blue. Let's say that we want to know when we hit counter trend liquidity lines. Then you would basically take, let me actually set it up on pound yen here. Okay, so you'd probably leave on grade A and grade B, and then you'd say, I only want to trade off of liquidity lines against that are counter to the trend. So you'd turn that on just like that. That's the only information you want to receive. So on your ETF, remember the triggers are always based on your ETF. They're not based off TF1, TF2, or TF3. So whatever your entry time frame is, that's where the trigger is going to get where it's going to monitor those triggers. So this situation right here, where would you have had a trigger? I only see one situation right here. It would have been right here. So if you have a blue trend on your daily, then you'll be looking for buying liquidity to enter that trend, right? Just like market makers do, just like the institutions do. Remember, in order for them to enter their big positions, their big trades, they need liquidity. They have different problems than you and I when you're trading those big of positions. So that's what the liquidity lines represent. Where is their potential liquidity if they just push price to it? So that would have given you that signal. This is probably one of the most powerful signals here, even more so than the major expansion, minor expansion. The liquidity lines is you're dealing with that moment where they've taken liquidity. What are they going to do with it? Are they going to further the trend or are they going to use it to further the correction? You literally have that situation every time you go through a counter trend liquidity line. So again, I wouldn't discount this particular signal right here. Very powerful to enter trend. So that's pretty much that. It's pretty self-explanatory. If your TF1 is long, it'll only look for blue buying liquidity. If it's short, it'll only trigger on yellow. And that's pretty much it. Now, one thing that I do want to mention with the TF1 is that, and I went back and forth on this. It was kind of hard to make the call, but what we did is it actually lags one candle. So what that means is if your daily, let's say the day closes and it pulls back, and now the day is yellow, it will be looking at the direction of the previous candle. So if the previous candle is still blue, then as you come through blue liquidity lines, they could be, let's say there were some down here, it would still be giving you buying signals through the assistant until the day closes yellow. When it closes yellow, then it'll say that the trend is over. Now, the reason that I did this is because I thought it would be better overall, because you do in certain time frames where you'll get great entry opportunities, but the candle briefly turns yellow or blue in a series of blue or yellow candles on the HA. You will get that quite often. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to still give you guys the signals, but not stop the signals until the candle is totally confirmed. And this is one of those things that there are major reversals that happen. And that's where the screen time is going to come in, guys. You have to look at, you still, just because you're getting a signal from the assistant, if you see that you're getting a heavy pullback and the current candle is yellow, but it's still giving you buying opportunities, you need to make a judgment call at that point. You still can't discount your experience and what the framework is telling you overall here. It's just alerting you to the possibility that counter trend liquidity is available. Just like the institutions would use to fill their trades, you have the possibility to do it at the same time as them. Remember, that's all it's telling you. So make sure that you evaluate the situation, but better to know about it than not, right? So that's what it's going to do. It'll lag behind one candle. It does that across all the triggers until the candle closes. So okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Counter trend liquidity lines will happen on whatever pairs or whatever TF1, TF2, TF3 you have enabled. If you only have TF1 enabled, and these ones you check to no, like it is here on Euro NOK, then it won't look at those. It'll only be looking for the candle color, the last confirmed color of your TF1. So, okay, next one is your expansion index signal. This is a new signal. So if you have this checked, and then you have grade A, grade B again, it's going to still go off of the first one that happens based off of a new rotation on your TF1 or a new color confirmation on your TF1, since it lags by one candle. What the expansion index does is it basically looks for things that are wildly out of trend based off of the normal lines on the expansion index. For instance, right now we have a current expansion bar right here. If you have your TF1 set as a daily like we do on pound yen, if you have this signal enabled, what it would look for is that if your last candle is whatever the color it is, let's say that it's blue right now, and for sure the color before that is blue. So it'd be actually looking at this previous candle. The minute that this expansion bar, or the exact moment that it goes below this white line right here, you'll get an expansion index signal. And what that's telling you is that according to normals, you guys that have gone through the expansion index trading, according to normals of the expansion index, these bands represent normal volatility based off of expansion points in the market. When you get below or above normal, it's going to alert you that, hey, the trend is still possibly intact and you're below normal. And obviously this would be reverse in the opposite situation. You guys can see that overall we're obviously in an uptrend. You guys see here? So if you had this simple signal showing that, hey, the daily is blue on the last confirmed candle, you guys see every time you push below here, see how these came down, and this one pushed below and you had liquidity. But the minute you got below there, you would have got, say, hey, market is wildly out of trend according to normals. Remember, this is a measurement tool giving you those normal, the normal brackets of price volatility. You are above normal, out of trend. As long as the trend holds, you can see how amazing these opportunities end up being. Right here, right here, right here. You guys see that? Right here is one. This one started to kind of get choppy a little bit. So this one, it did put you into the money and came down and went below, but the trend is still held. And we haven't had one since here. But you guys can see that is what it's alerting you to that situation. Hopefully you guys can see how cool that could be. It could be pretty epic. These ones typically are going to happen pretty fast though. If the trend is in a hold, they're usually going to reverse. You can see they reverse very quick. So again, pretty awesome stuff to show you when the volatility is above normal, but the trend is still intact. So awesome information that you get from that. Okay, so that's the expansion index signal. Now the next one is going to be your major expansion stack. This is one I threw in at the last minute, but I thought it was important. So what the major expansion stack does is it looks at the trending time frame. Remember, it's going to look for alignment across all time frames that you have enabled. You have to have one, so you'll have at least TF1. If you have TF2, TF3 enabled, it'll look, are we blue across the board here, or are we yellow across the board? That has to be checked there. And then what it's going to do is it's going to tell you when the red boxes, the major expansions, major framework, is starting to stack in trend. So what would have been an example of this would have been right here. If your last confirmed blue candle or last candle was blue on your higher time frame, your daily, which it was in here, right? then it would be looking for where it's looking at the last box and the current box. You'll notice that this red box appeared above. You can see that the value lines themselves were above on this next one. So the minute that confirms, it's showing that momentum is now moving and it's looking for the overall trend direction. The minute that it goes above, it'll give you an alert the minute this box turns red, showing you, hey, market making momentum, those market making ranges are starting to move with the trend. So that if you're someone that really looks at the framework and looks at the patterns of how market makers are stacking basically their hand, where are they, even with all the volatility, all this wild price movement, where is the market maker setting their footprint? These boxes are their footprint. That is that value established, and they can't hide where value establishes. So when value starts establishing in the trend direction, that in itself could be a signal. You notice that as we got this one right here, we did have another correction. This could possibly be an entry opportunity because you know that the trend is long. We're down below value, but values are stacking long. And you notice like a rubber band, it came back and then boom, you had a big move up. Then right here, you notice that value stacked below. This is falling out of trend, and then we got real whippy overall right here. So anyway, it's going to just tell you when value is starting to stack in trend. Now, again, this is something that you'll want to watch for. Not all the time are you going to get a situation like this where you get value stacking very subtly above and then you're early. You will also get it in a situation where you have a red box right here, and this one was technically the new red box. You would have got a signal. This would have been probably a grade B signal, but you notice how far the deviation is. This is not something that you may want to mess with. If you notice that the major expansion stack signal excuse me, is really far deviated, then, you know, the possibility, you guys know they've been doing this a while, you have a possibility that the market can come back like a rubber band back to this value point. So you want to look at where it is in relation to the previous framework that it's comparing it. But again, the signal is simply just telling you, hey, we're starting to stack momentum according to the market maker's hand. We're starting to stack momentum in your higher time frame direction. You may want to take a look at it. That's all it's telling you. So again, pretty self-explanatory. If it's long, we're looking for the first box that stacks above. If it's short, we're looking for the first box that stacks below. And that's where you'll get that signal. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to briefly go through the general signals. The general signals are for you guys that have been trading this much longer. You simply just want to know when certain events happen according to the algorithm, and very self-explanatory. If you want to know when you get a red box, the moment you get a red box confirmed, turn that on, and that'll tell you, and these are always based off of your ETF, right? So just make sure that that you understand that whatever your ETF is, if you just want to know whether it's an in trend or not, doesn't matter. You want to know when every red box happens, you just click that on, and that'll tell you that. This could be good for you guys that want a volatility signal. You would forget TF1, TF2, TF3. You have to have TF1 on, but that shouldn't matter. You could leave the TF1 on whatever direction it's in, doesn't matter. But it'll tell you when you have a major box expansion. And then this would be useful, say, for someone that wants their ETF. Let's say they want to know when the daily goes into a major box expansion. You could simply just set it like that, set these to no, and you can leave this TF1 out. You just put it on monthly or something. It doesn't really matter. But that would tell you, like, if you're trading, let's say that you're someone that's trading a 15 or a 5 minute into a 4 hour, but you back the 4 hour up with the day. Okay, this would be very similar to set this up, similar to how we do the volatility report. If you know that the daily has just triggered a red box, where would that do that, right? For instance, this one triggered it right here on this liquidity line, this candle. So you would have been alerted, that is a heavy volatility signal. you had 1, 2, 3, 4 uptrend days followed by 2 big downtrend days. So for somebody trading a 5-minute into a 4-hour, would you like to know the second that you get that your daily is going to go into a big fat whip, right? That would know, even though the daily's choppy on the 5 into the 4-hour. Sorry, my phone's ringing. On the 5 into the 4-hour, this would equal pretty big swings. You know what they say: the bigger the whip, the bigger the pip, right? So that would be a great setup. Put the day with a major box expansion to tell you, hey, my markets, even if I'm trading the lower time frames, are whipping right now. So how much would that save you of situations like this, with the daily being, in a contraction period? It's telling you, hey, the market's most likely going to give you some good trending days. You want to go to work. So that would give you that situation right there. So that's another creative way you'd want to use it. If you want something a little bit earlier, let's say you also want a minor box expansion. If you're trading a 5-minute into a 4-hour, again, going off the daily, that would alert you to that situation when you turn red. Also a situation like this, when you're fresh out of a gray box. If you want to deal with that situation, again, these are volatility signals that can be used on the higher time frame, and you can set the programming according to your own preferences, whatever you'd want to do. The other ones are very self-explanatory too. Let's say that you want to trade the daily or whatever time frame you're using. You want to know every time it hits a buy liquidity line, right? Well, there you go. Every time you hit a blue line right there, you know that, say, the daily is absorbing huge liquidity on the daily basis. You're probably going to get some sort of reaction from that. That'll alert you to that situation. And same thing with sell liquidity, same situation there, or every time you hit a sell liquidity line. So again, those are the basic signals. And again, that's for somebody that just wants to be notified of general events that happen within the ATS software. So pretty self-explanatory there. You guys can also see that you do need some time to understand what it is you actually want from this information-wise. But there is enough here between the grade A, grade B, the different multiple types of triggers, the general signals, the different time frame selections, the entry time frame selections, the trend strength, deviation. You guys could see that this thing has shaped up to be a dashboard that just gives you a very broad understanding of what's going on in the market and can basically alert you to any type of situation that you personally deal best with as a trader using ATS. So anyway, I think it's really cool. Obviously, I think it's leaps and bounds greater than ATS Assistant 1.0. Hopefully you guys can see the value in it as you move. Again, this is one of those things that's not going to make trading easy. Trading's never going to be easy, I don't think. But what we're trying to do, the value that this is trying to bring you guys as ATS traders, is to keep you guys working on the screen when there's work to be done. Because one of the biggest reasons why people blow their accounts is because they're bored and they feel like, I need to be in a trade to make progress. This is going to alert you to situations that have the possibility of actually putting you into the money and giving you something to actually work with immediately. And that way you don't end up seeing a mirage, entering a trade, and now you're just sitting in a sideways market, potentially going to just take a loss. And next thing you know, half your day is blown because you entered a stupid trade late in session, and now you're just sitting there all day waiting for something to happen. This is designed to eliminate that problem. So anyway, that is pretty much it. I'm going to go through some of your guys' questions here. Shane, if you got anything you want to add to that, go ahead. I'm going to read through some of your questions and see if there's anything we can't add. Again, I'm going to do a formal training on this, guys, but we'll at least you'll have access to this during the beta period. And hopefully we've gone enough in depth here to where you guys know pretty much how to use this and can start benefiting from it. So let me look through some questions here. Give me 1 second, guys.
All right, I've actually got two things I wanted to cover. Just one more time, just for those of you that were even later than the last time I did this, if you're wondering how to get the ATS Assistant 2.0, just go into the online course to the beta unit. It's at the very, very, very back of it, last unit. Fill out the fill form again. You'll get a new link sent out to your email, download it, and then run the installer that's in that. It'll automatically install the assistant to every single MetaTrader 4 you've got. Then from there, just open look at your indicator list by hitting that little nil folder in the top left, and you'll see experts. Just drag and drop the Assistant 2.0 onto a fresh chart, and you'll have it. One other thing that I wanted to mention, got a question from Nikki. When is long-term subscription coming out? Like 6 or 12 months? So my response to him was, I can't imagine a situation where it would take longer than later on this week to release that. So yeah, this was kind of our big hurdle that we were trying to get over. So we should have the little bit longer term packages for those of you that want to, don't want to be on the month-to-month anymore. We should have those a little bit later on this week. Absolute longest, maybe sometime next week, before next the next webinar. So let me see. I'm gonna go ahead and look through a little bit more comments. We'll see if there's anything else.
Okay, I do see one of the questions is, are you only getting the deviation numbers from the major expansion lines? Yeah, this is purely based off of ATS 4.0. So if you guys are looking at ATS 3.0 and then using this to get signals, they're not going to line up exactly. So this is only ATS 4.0. The liquidity line calculations and the box calculations, expansion line calculations are different between 4.0 and 3.0. So this is all next generation based upon. If you guys want to continue to use ATS 1.0, again, I know I got a lot of people on here that are used to using ATS 3.0 and the Assistant 1.0, which works with 3.0. By all means, keep doing what you're doing. We're not going to take that stuff away. I don't want to take away anything that you're having success with. So that's all included in the installer, and you guys will be good there. But just understand that this one is paired with 4.0. So if you're going to monitor or going to jump to the charts to see what the signals or what the framework looks like, you need to be looking at 4.0 if you're using this current assistant. Some of you guys may have came late. You're asking when can you get it? You guys can go download this. It is in the online course. It's the very, very last lesson. Sometimes it has page 1 of 2. If you scroll down to the bottom, click over to page 2 and go to the very, very, very bottom, and you'll see the download instructions there.
Yeah, and I mentioned we're going to be updating the installation video a little bit later on, but for those of you that have gone through it, I haven't had any emails, or not one email that I've seen come through of somebody that downloaded it and is having issues actually running it. So anyways, yeah, it's just an installer, and it will install to every single MetaTrader 4 on your computer after you run it. And we're going to be making a few changes to the installer, like it'll tell you exactly which MetaTrader it's installing to, but it seemed kind of silly to hold it up any longer for something, as simple as that. You guys are pretty smart and, didn't want to insult your intelligence by holding it off for something that simple. So we're going to be making a few tweaks as we go, but it's pretty much there. And it was very helpful that we did 4.0 before doing this, because this would have been, if we were trying to launch this and didn't have some of the experiences and the bugs that we ran into with 4.0, this would have been a disaster. So yeah, I'm happy, at least on my end, that we held this one up just a little bit longer.
Yeah, we are learning every day. Remember, I told you guys that old licensing system was literally meant to be for a handful of people that wanted to use it. I made it for myself. So, that was a way to protect the code and give it out to the people that knew about it, and that was it. I never expected it to get this big, which is great. I'm glad a lot of people are able to use the methodology, but it's caused us to learn a lot of things that I never thought I'd really have to learn. So um, we're going as fast as we can, and we're getting better and better at it. So anyway, just hang in there with us. We will eventually do a formal launch of this stuff when we know it's pretty much. I don't know if it will ever get to 100%. I'm sure there's always going to be some situation on some different type of computer or whatever. But when it's at 99%, we're going to consider it's pretty much done. And it's pretty close. I think you guys are going to find that everything's working pretty flawlessly. So. But anyway, when we do the actual formal launch, that is when we're going to also be raising the prices of all this stuff. Because obviously, you guys know we put all these tools out. If you guys are already signed up, you're committed to the process, you're staying subscribed. That we value that commitment, and we're not going to raise the price on you guys. You guys are, as long as you're in, you will always have $150 a month for the subscription price. It'll never change. We won't do that to you. We're not going to even upsell you guys on new software stuff. Any new software we come out with in the future, forever, you guys will be grandfathered in, even if it's the most craziest, awesome thing. That's our commitment to you guys that stay subscribed and stay committed. But the new people that come in will be paying a higher price, because we're eventually, not going to let anybody that has $150 and can fog a mirror be able to have access. That we are going to raise the financial commitment level, because our goal ultimately is to only have serious people in this program that see the value long term. That's part of the filtering process, is going to be raising the price and making it where it's a more serious commitment. You'd be surprised, guys, that people that don't. One thing I've learned, and it's a reason why we don't do free trials, and it's a saying that goes pretty far back, but people that don't pay attention. I'm telling you, some of the people we gave free trials to when we first started were the biggest pain in the butts ever. They blow our support up. They think that everything is just entitled to them. It was unbelievable. And we try to really do good for everybody, but they just totally take advantage of everything. And just want to poke holes in every little thing. It's just unbelievable. But the people that actually put some skin in the game are much more serious-minded people, and they actually benefit because they understand, like, hey, I'm really here to learn something. So it's just kind of a weird phenomenon. I know for me, I do advanced trainings and do different things that are even outside of trading, just business-wise and things. And these programs are expensive. I paid like 15 grand for a program not too long ago. And you'd think, man, $15,000 to just sit, for a few days and listen to some business information. But I'll tell you right now, because I ponied up the 15 G's, I paid it all cash, and I've sat and I paid attention. I got a huge benefit from what I went through. But I'll tell you right now, if it was $100, or $500 even, I may have even been like, oh, I'm too busy to go. I may have just not even went, or if it was especially free. But sometimes, we do give our free content out, and that really, we want to give that value, and the people that, identify it with it, normally will come over and want to see what else we have. But ultimately, we're looking for the people that see value long term and are willing to invest in themselves. And we really want you guys. We want to do well for you guys. That's our long-term game plan. So anyway, just know if we do raise the price, you guys that are subscribed, just stay subscribed, and you're good to go for as long as you want to be here. If you do bounce out, then you're going to have to come in at the higher price when we do flip it, which will be pretty much when we do the formal launch. So anyway, I think that's about it, guys. I think we're going to probably wrap it up.
Hey Wade, one thing I saw a question that came through just a little while ago that I wanted to touch on because we actually didn't. This is part of the new licensing system, so you will not need a license key for it. And then I also wanted to touch on that a little bit. Um, Some of you might have run into the problem where your software just cuts out and it says your subscription is expired. You go and check and the payment came through successfully. That's kind of one of the little issues that we're still running into. We should have that sorted out by the end of the week. Worst case, just shoot us an email. We'll get it. We'll address the issue for you. It's basically where our server is not seeing it come in until a little bit later. It will update, but sometimes it just takes a little bit longer than it should. So we should be addressing that either today or tomorrow. Yeah, it's just kind of been one of the lingering problems that happens to a small percentage of people, but you know, nonetheless, we're going to be working on that. But yeah, you will not need a license key for ATS Assistant version 2. So you just throw it on the chart. As long as your PayPal account's all sorted out, it should work no problem. And if you do see that and you know that your payments are all in order, just shoot us an email and we'll get it taken care of for you.
Thanks. Rick just pointed out we got a typo on triggers. Should be 2 G's. Thanks, Rick. Well, guys, we're taking it down. Don't download it. We got to redo it. Some of our coders are not native English speakers. They speak good enough English for us to communicate well, but sometimes that gets lost in translation. And honestly, our biggest thing was getting the algorithm right. So anyway, I'm sure we'll fix that in a future update here, probably before we do the formal launch. But thanks for pointing that out. I honestly didn't even see that. So anyway, I'm sure you guys know what it means. So. All right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap that up. My voice is about going out here. Been talking more than I normally ramble on. So I appreciate you guys being on. Again, if you guys have any questions about this, like Shane said, we're here, support@tradeats.com. We're here for you. We'll do whatever we can to make sure that you guys are up and running smoothly with this new tool. All I could say, guys, just remember screen time, screen time, screen time. This is not a substitute for that. This is a complement to your screen time. This is going to take the time you guys have already put in to learn the methodology, gain experience, and it's going to cut your workload in half, or more. It's going to limit that time on the screen, and that's what this is designed to do. But make sure that you got to bring your analytical skills, look at those higher time frames. No different than if you were babysitting the market and watching for certain signals yourself. You still need to go in and take a quick look. So just keep that in mind, guys, because we want you guys to be safe and not take any losses that aren't necessary. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for being on. We will plan on seeing you guys for the webinar next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m. Till then, be safe, and we'll catch you guys later. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.